Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for January 9, 2022, the Don't Pee in a Plane edition. And this is not about urinating in the bathroom. This is about peeing on your fellow passenger. As a banking executive from India, working for the Indian subsidiary of Wells Fargo, urinated on a fellow passenger, apparently in an inebriated state. It was on an Air India flight in November from New York to New Delhi, and the airline really mistreated the passenger who was abused. However, the employer of the putative peer fired the employee as the vice president of the Indian subsidiary of Wells Fargo. And he is also facing several different laws from the nation of India, including sexual harassment, obscenity, and insulting the modesty of a woman. So, pretty bizarre story. Next up, from Aljazeera, Vietnam removes 2 deputy prime ministers amid an anti-corruption probe. Vietnam's National Assembly has voted to dismiss 2 deputy PMs from their posts. There was no explanation of the party's decision to remove them, but it comes at a time when communist-ruled country is intensifying its fight against corruption, despite concerns the campaign is paralyzing routine transactions. Next up from Reuters, the Department of Justice has launched a website for victims of FTC cryptocurrency founder SBF's alleged fraud, to allow the victims to communicate with law enforcement. In an order late Friday night, the judge authorized federal prosecutors to use the website and not have to contact victims individually. FTX could owe more than 1 million people, and it make it impractical to contact each one of them. And finally, we conclude with a story from Bloomberg, which asks the question, will remote work continue in 2023? Executives generally fall into 2 camps from working from home, which surged during the pandemic. Some believe it has its advantages, like a happier workforce. Others say, screw you, employees, you're coming back into the office. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and whether or not employees will vote with their feet. But there's a genuine divergence between organizations, and you're starting to see companies pick sides. What are some of the reasons remote work will continue? Obviously, retention, recruitment, recession cost cutting, and reversal risks are key components of the analysis that you need to go through in making your decision at your company. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.